All right, guys. Real quick here, what I wanted to do today is I wanted to talk about one little thing in light of my recent rat videos, and I talked with some people on Reddit and got some common threads and talking about the effectiveness of blank fire decoys and chaos bombs. And it made me kind of think about them and made me want to explain something. And I thought about doing a video, this or that, but really it keeps boiling down to there's one main thing that I want to talk about, and it's the main weakness of the chaos bomb and the blank fire decoy. And that main weakness is that they sound like chaos bombs and blank fire decoys. And there's a reason for that. And I want to tell you about something that you probably know, and you may not even realize that you know it. Is that most anybody with any amount of time in this game at all probably knows most, if not all, of the sounds of the guns in the game. But something they may not realize they know, or they've never actually stopped and thought about it, is the fact that in addition to just the sound of the gun, every gun in the game has a cadence at which you are used to hearing that gun fired. There's a certain way you're used to hearing a gun used. And I brought this Caldwell Rival here because I think it's about the best example of what I'm trying to talk about. And I'm going to go show it to you. But you might already be kind of thinking it a little bit, so. All right, so here's what I wanted to show you. Here's the thing that you probably know, and you may not even realize you know. I want you to listen to something. Tell me what you hear. What you're hearing is the usual cadence, the way that you're used to hearing a Caldwell Rival fired. Often with this particular gun, you'll hear shot, shot, pause, shot, shot, pause. And that's how fights tend to go, because fights themselves have a cadence. If you listen to that one that's going on down there, it's shots and pauses, shots and pauses. It's not constant shooting. It's not completely random. It's shots and pauses. And the thing is, when you hear a chaos bomb and it goes off and it starts firing off rival shots, which they do a better job of mimicking now. Before, I think it was patch 1.3, they would just fire off random gun sounds from the game files, completely at random, and they were a joke. After, I think it was 1.3, now what they do is they try to mimic the guns a little bit better, but it's still not quite right. It's like fighting an AI in a fighting game. It's just not quite the same as a person, and you kind of know it even if you don't realize it. All right, let me do just a couple quick bullet points and then get out of here. I'll play some random leftover scrap footage just so you have something to look at. It was all left over from my rat project, and I didn't use it for anything, and it's about to go in the recycle bin, but it'll give you something to look at. Okay, so how can we make them sound a little bit more believable? Well, there's a few things you can do. One, if you want to convince them that there's actually a team fight happening, do this by throwing your decoys with a believable cadence. Try throwing them at different spots. Try throwing them while you move around. Try throwing them and then shooting at where you threw them. You can try sticking them to AI. Doing all these things will help it sound more like an organic fight, because remember, your brain processes things even if maybe you're not actively used to thinking about it. And a fight sounds like people in different spots shooting at the different spots in volleys and pauses while they reload and relocate and get behind cover. So you kind of need to mimic that. It can't just be a steady stream of random gun sounds. All right. Now let's just real quick here hit a couple of bullet points, a couple of things you might try to use them to do, in addition to convince the people that there's a team fight. You might try to draw somebody to a window for a headshot. You might try to use them to set off a noise trap. You might use them to draw the AI. If you throw a blank fire decoy on the ground or a decoy, nearby AI will actually move to that spot. It's up to you to find a use for that. You might be trying to draw them onto fire to kill all the AI without using stamina or something like that. Or you might be able to move them out of your way, or move them into somebody else's, but we're getting into really niche meme territory, but it is a thing that exists. The same goes for if you hit a red barrel with them, it explodes. The opportunity to find somebody next to a red barrel and then hitting him with a blank fire decoy, setting off the barrel and killing them, is very slim, and likely more trouble than it's worth, because you could have just shot them and they were probably trying to shoot you. So it's a thing you can do, but very niche meme territory. One last little piece about them is that there is such a thing as a mental load. And, you know, you hear these concepts in like games like StarCraft and fighting games and just all that. All the extra noise will increase that mental load a little bit. So if you're in the middle of a team fight with somebody and you and each of your teammates throw 9 chaos bombs down right in the building they're in, it is noisy and it increases the mental load a little bit. Now remember, that kind of goes both ways, but it's something to consider if you know you wanted to try that. Also, let's say you were going to kick the door in. They're hiding inside the boss building and they're going to kick the door in and go in there after them. You can use it to kind of mask the sound of your approach, and that is a pretty viable use for them. It's right there with turning on the organs and the generators and stuff like that that just make a lot of noise. Now that noise affects you as well, so it's a double-edged sword, but it does kind of mask your footsteps coming into the building. So that's an option. Okay, just let me talk about the two main weaknesses of decoys, and the reason why they kind of just tend to not work that well. One, it's hard to get them to mimic the sound of organic gunfire. And two, you largely cannot throw them far enough away from yourself to matter. If I'm at any given compound and you're at the next compound over, whether you're firing a decoy or a real shot, I can't pinpoint where you're at down to a meter or two. I just know that you're west of me, and I can probably tell left or right, further back. I can tell which side of the compound you're on, but I can't tell exactly where you're at inside a compound. Now in a field, if a little bit better. If you're in a tower in a field, I can pinpoint that, but if you're just in a compound, it's hard to tell, assuming that you're not making specific underground versus overground sounds. Like the gun sounds coming from underneath pitching sound different than the ones from on top. So that's something for your consideration. But you generally can't throw them far enough away to matter, because if you're at the next compound over and you're trying to trick me, you're not going to be thrown 20 yards away from yourself. Well, that's about how close I can guess how far, it's about how close I can guess you and your position anyways. So all you're really doing at that point is drawing my attention to you. Yeah, you could throw it and then run the other way, but once again, if you're at a whole nother compound, it largely doesn't matter, because I can't see you in there, or assuming I can't see you, because if I can see you, all of this is moot. But assuming I can't see you, it doesn't matter, because I just hear If I hear gunshots 1 compound away, I just catalog that, okay, there's somebody over there, and then I wait for you to get closer anyhow, unless I'm sniping, but that's a big drawback of them. Okay, so what's a better option? In my opinion, almost anything that you could actually reasonably accomplish with a decoy or a chaos bomb could be better accomplished with a silent pistol. It's very hard to confuse me or trick me to any meaningful length with the sound of a blank fire decoy. If I don't just outright know that's what it was, the effect it'll have, pretty marginal. Now, what I do find pretty effective is, instead of trying to confuse me with a shot, set off noise traps silently so that it seems like you walked past them. If you see an armored 100 meters away and you shoot it with a silent pistol, it will sound like it aggroed to somebody and is chasing them. That's more likely to draw my attention over there convincingly than just a random whatever shot over here. One thing I found pretty effective when I was doing my rat stuff is shooting things like armored and meatheads and hives, which are especially the armoreds and the hives, which have very unique sounds, and you hit them and it sounds like somebody ran past them, but not killing them because that's its own unique sound. The other thing was stuff like dog and chicken cages, dog kennels, chicken cages, things like that. If you shoot those, and you can shoot them from any distance away that the bullet will travel, if you hit the cage, not kill the dog itself because you can do that, but you hit the cage, the dogs inside, they go off. It sounds just like somebody aggroed it, which can be heard from more than a compound away easily. So that's something that's actually kind of somewhat effective. If I'm at one compound and you're at a different compound and I shoot a dog cage at a third compound, that's actually getting you to look in the wrong direction, more so than throwing a noise 20 feet away from your own person. Or you could, shoot if you've been using noise in one direction and then you shoot the cage and go the other, you might be able to get me to look in the wrong way. So I think the silent pistol is much better for that. One more like defensive thing. If you were running away from somebody and you kind of managed to lose them in like thick cover and something like that, and they're kind of looking for you, and then you managed to, if you could do it such that you could spot an AI, shoot it in the foot without them hearing your silent gun, they cannot be right on top of you when you do this. But when they hear that, they might think it aggroed and chase that and give up on you. So a possibility. Okay, that's it. I just wanted to do a quick PSA, and I really wanted to talk about something that, you may know but don't realize you know, and that's you process a lot more, and that things have a cadence to it, and when that sounds off, it's not as convincing. So just keep that in mind. Use this in your plays going forward, whether it be for deception or otherwise, and hopefully you found this a little bit useful. So take care. We'll see you next time.